Hello, friends. Good afternoon. As you can see from the caption, which is displayed there on the screen, that today I have decided to choose once again the topic on our country's sacred document, which is known as the Constitution of India. Why it is sacred, I decided to say, because this is the lifeline of your country. This is the lifeline of the people of this country. It guarantees you certain important rights which are imperative to lead a life of human dignity, and without which perhaps it was not possible for us to have that life. This is why this is as sacred as our temples are, where we worship the God for our inner satisfaction. And for your outer satisfaction, where you do practically a lot of work for which you need support of the state. It is the constitution, this sacred constitutional document, which grants, which guarantees you this support. So externally, in material world, constitution is your temple, and internally, for your inner satisfaction, our temples are important for us. Therefore, I have decided that once again we should discuss the relevance of our constitution in our life. आप सब जानते हैं कि जब हमारे मुल्क ने इंडिपेंडेंस अभी अचीव नहीं की थी, तो उस वक्त we were directly being governed by the Britishers because they were ruling the country. Then, and we also know that what was the treatment which Britishers meted out to our people then? Our people were not highly respected. They were not leading the lives of dignity because the reason is very obvious that we were being ruled by the external forces, the Britishers. They were here, Britishers were here to foster their own interests. And they were least concerned about the masses. They just wanted them to be obedient to the Britishers and nothing else. So the situation, the condition, both economic, social, was worse during the pre-independence era. Then you know it is the principle that when certain things in your life it exceeds certain principles, then whatever you have done, that starts boomeranging on you. It is exactly what happened to the Britishers, British rulers at that point of time. People were fed up of oppression and suppression. Then they decided to get together to get rid from the shackles of the Britishers. And we all know that ultimately, under the able guidance, leadership of many big people, intellectuals of that time, like, for example, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, Mahatma Gandhi, Vallabhbhai Patel, Gopal Krishan Gokhale, Jhansi Ki Rani, Bhagat Singh, Rajguru, and many such eminent personalities of that time who gave their blood, their leadership to the masses, and ultimately they able collectively to push out the Britishers from the Indian soil. And ultimately, in 1947, the independence was achieved. And you know that divide and rule was the policy of the Britishers. And while leaving this soil, they able to create two nations. One, the India, and one, the Pakistan. We all know. So India achieved its independence on August 15, 1947. Now, the real task, which was before the leadership of that time, was to reconstruct the nation. And it was not an easy task, I tell you. You can equate it with your own individual home. When, after hard earned money, you able to build your own house where your family lives. And how much labor you put to construct that individual home. You know, you don't have black money, you earn and then you construct and you put your whole life to achieve that your home, not built in a day. Similarly, after achieving the independence, it was it was the real task before the leadership of that time, that to construct, how to reconstruct this nation after considering the considerable laws, considerable experience during the freedom fight. That has to be taken into consideration, and to build this nation, it was very important that there should have been no repetitions of such era. So it was the prime task, difficult task for the leaders. Then Dr. Ambedkar, he was the constitutional expert of that time. The first task which they undertook, our forefathers undertook, was to constitute a constituent assembly so that the constitution of a great repute, great values be given to the people of India, so that the values, the system of values which has been incorporated in this document will become the base for the governance of this nation, will become the beacon, guide for the generations to come to govern this nation. So we all know that in the year 1949 and November 26, the Constituent Assembly adopted the Constitution. The work started, commenced to build this document taking into consideration the various other constitutions of that time. And our Constituent Assembly tried its level best to give the best constitution to this nation. And they able to do that under the auspices of able uh, guidance of Dr. Ambedkar. We have the best document, constitutional document. And you know that in this constitution, the human values were entrenched, embedded, so that the government of any political party, irrespective of any political party, could seek the guidance to govern the nation according to the values as laid down in the Constitution of India. This was the prime motive of the Constituent Assembly. No scope was left for any political party, or for that matter, for any government of any political party, to even slightly deviate from these values. There was no scope. There was no any option. As today we know that the attempts are being made to subterfuge the human values as laid down in the Constitution. We all are witnessing. The executive is trying. Executive of the day is trying to subterfuge the values as laid down in the Constitution. And people feel helpless about it. So don't forget that how much blood has flown during the British rule, during the pulling out the Britishers from the Indian soil, during blood flown during achieving your independence. And you can't let it go like this. There is no scope. And it is we should not be oblivious of it. We need to run this nation according to the constitutional values. We cannot play a politics of subterfuge, a politics of hatred, Constitution does not permit it. It is inhibited by the Constitution. We have to be very cautious that no such game is played which will bring disorder in the society, which will bring public disorder in public, which will bring public disorder, which will affect your public order. Constitution inhibits such acts of the executive or any institution created by the Constitution. So the progress of the people, of the masses, it depends upon the behavior of the executive. If the executive misbehaves with the Constitution, with the Constitution values, the life of the people will be at stake. Mind it. And if the executive behaves according to the constitutional values, the masses will progress. So, as simple. This is the formula. So, any executive, they should remember that any government, any executive, this is creation of the Constitution. If there would be no Constitution, there will be no government, there will be no executive. Very simple. Therefore, executive is bound to act within the constitutional bounds. And if it does not act within the constitutional bounds, then it is the Supreme Court, which is also the creation of the Constitution of India. And it has been specially created to keep the executive within the constitutional bounds, to guard the Constitution, the constitutional principles, the rights of the people. This is what the job has been assigned to the judiciary, particularly the higher judiciary, Supreme Court, High Court, High Courts and Supreme Court. Their job is to guard the constitutional principles and not to encourage, not to foster the wrong acts of the executive. This is what, apart from adjudications, apart from interpreting the provisions of Constitution, the laws, this is their task. Constitution assigns to protect. And if judiciary fails and executive wins, then your constitution fails. This is how the balance of power works. The system of checks and balances works and keeps the system in balance, in equilibrium. This equilibrium is very, very important to make your country progressive. Now, I will make you aware that Constitution is a grand norm. What it means, what is meant by grand norm? Grand norm means and refers to the highest law of the land, and all other laws which are legislated are subject to the constitutional law, the constitution, which is the grand norm. If it violates your grand norm, constitution, then courts can declare such law as ultra vires of the constitution. It do not meet the requirement of this law which has been legislated, do not meet the requirement of constitution. Therefore, it is ultra vires. And court can strike down such laws. The ultimate aim of the constitution is to protect the system as a whole, so that it might, lest it might not become unstable. Many times, under the intoxication of power, absolute power, executive tries to tamper with the constitutional provisions. But the active judiciary, cautious judiciary, it catches the mischief of the executive and stops it there. Nip that mischief in the bud. And if judiciary fails, then the masses have to pay a very, very heavy price. You have seen in the recent past 10 years. That how much unstable we were reached. And still that attempt to destabilize the constitutional provisions is not ceased, has not come to an end. They are constantly trying. So judiciary needs to be more cautious, because the masses in front of the state becomes helpless. It is only the judiciary, higher judiciary, high courts, Supreme Court particularly, who can stop such activities. None other can. Now let's have a look on our constitution also, that how many parts it has, how many chapters it has. As I have said that It was adopted in on 26th of November 1949. Its application was in 26th of January 1950. Uh, our constitution contains about 22 parts, about 12 schedules. Part 3, deals with fundamental rights. Part 4 deals with directive principles of the state policy. Part 15 deals with elections, provisions regarding elections, how the nation will conduct its elections has been laid down in article in part 15. Part 18 deals with the emergency provisions like financial emergency, other emergencies. And there are more than 240 articles. Maybe more than 300, more than 300 articles in the Constitution of India. Many chapters given separately. And it was adopted by the Constituent Assembly, of which everybody knows that the Honorable Dr. Ambedkar was the chairman. There were many other members, great intellectual members, juries. So it is very important that the people of this country should be educated about their constitution, because whatever they achieve, that will remain so long as your constitution will remain. If you are IAS, IPS, or PhD holder, you will remain like that till your constitution lives. And thereafter, no IAS, no IPS, nothing. Because IAS, IPS, Indian Foreign Service, all services, all India services, it is the creation of your constitution. It is not your individual creation. Therefore, it becomes imperative for every one of us, irrespective of your qualifications, irrespective of your IAS, IPS, doctorate, engineering, lawyer, or whatever it is, that we should respect our constitution, we should protect our constitution if you want to sustain your achievements. In the absence of this constitution, you will be nothing. You will be like a person who was during the British time, pre-independence era. Your value will be such only. This is why our forefathers have given us this document so that you could achieve some goals. You could achieve your education. You could become officer, you could become doctor, you could become engineer. Why don't you understand this? Why you are so much selfish? Therefore, it is very important that there should be not even a slight deviation from the constitutional values, irrespective of the ideologies of any political party. Whether one party likes the other party's ideology or not, whether one party has some ideology to replace the present system, we cannot encourage that. There is no scope for that. Everyone in the system should understand this. We cannot be selfish. We cannot we cannot break connivances. We cannot connive for our own ulterior motives, ulterior ends. We have to protect the system as a whole. Therefore, it is very important that every citizen of the country should know something about their constitution. After all, what is this document is all about? Only then they can enlighten their inner being कि यार ये तो बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट डॉक्यूमेंट है, इसमें तो हमारे सारे राइट्स हैं, इसमें हमारी जनरेशन्स को प्रोटेक्ट किया है। अगर ये डॉक्यूमेंट नहीं होगा या इसको कोई टेम्पर करने की कोशिश करेगा, हमारी तो हालत खराब हो जाएगी। ये चीज यू हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड बाय नेविगेटिंग थ्रू द पेजेस ऑफ योर constitution. You don't have to listen to the politicians, the unscrupulous politicians who can do anything to remain in power. Your democracy, your parliament, your legislature, your judiciary, your government executive, all these things have been created by the constitution. They have not come from the sky. तो एक सिंपल बात है कि जब कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन ने ये सब चीजें क्रिएट की हैं, आपकी जुडिशरी को क्रिएट किया है, आपकी गवर्नमेंट जो एग्जीक्यूटिव जिसको बोलते हैं उसको क्रिएट किया है, आपकी लॉ मेकिंग बॉडी जो यहाँ पे ये सारे लॉ बनते हैं, असेंबलीज, पार्लियामेंट, ये सब हमारे कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन ने क्रिएट किया है। तो फिर अगर कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन फॉर द आर्गुमेंट से अगर हम ये कहेंगे कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन नहीं हो अगर, तो ये सारी चीजें नहीं होंगी। सिंपल। तो फिर आप लोग क्या करोगे? तो हम किसी भी गवर्नमेंट को ये अटेम्प्ट नहीं करने दे सकते, डायरेक्टली और इनडायरेक्टली, कि वो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन की वैल्यूज को, प्रोविजंस को टेम्पर करे। किसी और तरीके से टेम्पर करे। ये चीज आपको ध्यान में रखनी है। देयर आर वेरियस मोडस ऑपरेंडीज, मेथड्स कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन को टेम्पर करने के। आपको लगेगा कि आपका कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन तो अपनी जगह पे है, लेकिन वो किसी और रूट से उसको इतना टेम्पर कर देंगे, सिस्टम को चेंज कर देंगे कि आपको पता ही नहीं चलेगा, लेकिन आपको फीलिंग होगी कि कुछ चेंज हो रहा है, हमारी लाइफ में कुछ चेंजेस आ रहे हैं। जैसे कि फॉर एग्जांपल, आज से 8-10 साल पहले आपको सिलेंडर 300 400 के आसपास मिलता था, गैस जो सिलेंडर है। और आज 8-10 साल के बाद बीजेपी की गवर्नमेंट ने हद कर दी, और सिलेंडर आज 1150 रुपए से भी ऊपर है ना। तो जो आर्टिकल हमारा 21 है, वो तो एक्सेस दे रहा है हमें, फंडामेंटल एक्सेस दे रहा है कि आपको खाना मिलना चाहिए, आपको कपड़े मिलने चाहिए, आपको रहने के लिए घर मिलना चाहिए, आपकी लाइफ में वो सब चीजें होनी चाहिए जिसकी वजह से डिग्निटी से लाइफ जो है वो आप चला सकते हैं। तो अगर आपको, से फॉर एग्जांपल, आर्टिकल 21 तो वहीं का वहीं रहेगा, बाजार में चीजें महंगी हो जाएंगी, घर महंगे हो जाएंगे, बनाने वाली चीजें महंगी हो जाएंगी, गैस आप अफोर्ड नहीं कर पाओगे, तो आपको तो मुश्किल हो जाएगी, गरीब आदमी को तो, जिसकी कोई इनकम ही नहीं है। आपको राशन से राशन नहीं मिलेगा, राशन डिपो से बहुत सी चीजें आपकी जो है वो सीज कर ली जाएंगी, आपके ऊपर हाउस प्रॉपर्टी का टैक्स लगा दिया जाएगा ना। तो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन अपनी जगह पे ही है, वो खड़ा है अपनी जगह पे, लेकिन वो इनडायरेक्टली उसको इस तरीके से खराब कर रहे हैं कि आपका रहना जो है वो मुश्किल हो जाता, होता जा रहा है। तो ये सब चीजें जो हैं, और इसके ऊपर जुडिशरी का कोई वो अंकुश नहीं है। जुडिशरी इज नॉट चेकिंग दिस एक्टिविटी ऑफ द एग्जीक्यूटिव। तो आप अंदाजा लगा सकते हो कि आप कहाँ पे आपकी लाइफ जो है एंड होगी, अगर ऐसा ही चलता रहेगा तो। ये आपको खुद अंडरस्टैंड करना है इस चीज को। यू हैव टू मेक योर सेल्फ अवेयर व्हाट इज योर गवर्नमेंट इज डूइंग विद यू। क्या ये कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन के मुताबिक हमारे लिए काम कर रही है या नहीं कर रही है। वो तभी होगा ना जब आपको कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन का पता हो। जब आपको कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन का पता ही कुछ नहीं है, एबीसी नहीं पता है इसकी, तो गवर्नमेंट विल प्ले विद योर सेंटिमेंट्स, विद योर इमोशंस इन एवरी इलेक्शंस, और आपका वोट लेके वो फिर वही पावर में आ जाएगी और आपकी फिर हालत जो है खस्ता कर देगी ना। तो ये सब चीजें जो हैं, जैसे हमारी स्टेट में रिसेंटली हाउसिंग हाउस प्रॉपर्टी टैक्स जो है उसका बड़ा चर्चा है, वो लागू किया है हमारी स्टेट में भी। तो कोर्ट्स जो हैं इस एग्जीक्यूटिव को पूछ सकती हैं, भाई ऑन व्हाट बेसिस आपने ये प्रॉपर्टी टैक्स जो है वो यहाँ पे होल्ड गुड किया है, लागू किया है। व्हाट इज द रीजन व्हाई यू आर टीजिंग द पीपल, व्हाई यू आर नॉट अलाउइंग द पीपल टू लिव a life, to lead a life of peace, why you are fingering। मेरा घर है, मैंने खुद इसके ऊपर इन्वेस्टमेंट की है, अलॉटमेंट करवाई, अलॉटमेंट प्लॉट होने के बाद उसका मैं ओनर बना, अपने पैसे लगाए, अपना घर बनाया, पानी का टैक्स मैं इनको दे रहा हूँ, बिजली का किराया मैं इनको दे रहा हूँ। तो ये प्रॉपर्टी टैक्स मेरे ही घर और मेरे घर के ऊपर ही मेरे से ही ये पैसा लेगी गवर्नमेंट, वो किस लिए। इज इट कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल। ये टैक्स क्यों मेरे ही घर का, जिसके ऊपर मेरी अपनी ही इन्वेस्टमेंट है, गवर्नमेंट ना तो मुझे सफेदी करा के दे रही है, गवर्नमेंट ना तो मेरे लॉन्स जो है वो मेंटेन कर रही है, गवर्नमेंट ने कोई माली अपॉइंट नहीं किया है, गवर्नमेंट ने कोई दीवार नहीं बनाई है, दीवारें भी मैंने बनाई हैं, इन्वेस्टमेंट की है, इसके ऊपर प्रॉपर्टी टैक्स क्यों? ये एक जुडिशियल माइंड का क्वेश्चन है जो दिमाग में आता है कि वाई। सो रोड्स टैक्स जो है वो हम देते हैं क्योंकि रोड्स हम यूज करते हैं, गवर्नमेंट की प्रॉपर्टी है, उसमें गवर्नमेंट की ओनर, वो पब्लिक ओनरशिप है, उसमें गवर्नमेंट की ओनरशिप है, तो वहां उसका राइट बनता है वो लोगों से टैक्स ले, क्योंकि सड़कों को मेंटेन करना पड़ता है। लेकिन मेरे घर को, मेरी प्राइवेट प्रॉपर्टी जो है उसको तो मेंटेन गवर्नमेंट नहीं करती। अगर गवर्नमेंट प्राइवेट प्रॉपर्टी को मेंटेन ही नहीं करती है तो वो हाउस रेजिडेंशियल जो हाउसेस के ऊपर जो टैक्स है वो क्यों है, उसकी क्या वजह है? क्या गवर्नमेंट के खजाने खाली हो गए हैं? क्या प्राइवेट ओनरशिप जो है ऐसा क्यों नहीं करते कि लोगों के पास 20-20 प्लॉट हैं, सीज करो उनको और बेचो उनको? एक एक आदमी ने 10-10 रेजिडेंशियल प्लॉट प्राइम लोकेशंस में रखे हुए हैं। इनकी पार्टियों में ही कितने अफसर हैं जो रिटायर होके आए हैं और वो उन्होंने 10-10 20-20 प्रॉपर्टियां रखी हुई हैं, प्लॉट्स लिए हुए हैं, और वो अपने प्रॉपर्टी को प्रोटेक्ट करने के लिए दे हैव ज्वाइन दीज पॉलिटिकल पार्टीज। उनसे छीनो ये, इतनी हिम्मत रखो ना। लेजिस्लेशन को मिस यूज क्यों करते हो आप लोग? जस्टिफाई करो, लोगों को बताओ भाई हम प्रॉपर्टी टैक्स क्यों ले रहे हैं। कोई इनका कोई लीडर जो है, कोई गवर्नमेंट की तरफ से कोई रिप्रेजेंटेटिव नहीं है जो टीवी के ऊपर बोलकर जस्टिफाई करता है लोगों को टेलीविजन के ऊपर कि भाई हम प्रॉपर्टी टैक्स जो है चार्ज कर रहे हैं, उसकी वजह ये है। तो पब्लिक ओपिनियन क्रिएट करो ना। अथॉरिटेरियन टाइप जो काम आप लोग करते हो वो क्यों करते हो? कोई भी लेजिस्लेशन अगर बनता है तो उसका पब्लिक ओपिनियन जो है वो भी क्रिएट किया जाता है। ये नहीं कि रातों रात आप कोई लेजिस्लेशन पास करके तो अगले दिन लोगों को तंग करना शुरू कर दो। दिस इज नॉट द जॉब ऑफ द गवर्नमेंट। जॉब ऑफ द गवर्नमेंट इज to ease the troubles of the masses, but not to create the troubles for the masses. This is what the job of the government is, according to the constitution. इन लोगों को कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन का कोई समझ ही नहीं है, पता ही नहीं है। दे डोंट go by the constitution. They go by their own whims and caprices, their own fanciful ideas, which they create during night and implement them during the daytime. It's a their governance is based on fancies, not on constitutional values, not on constitutional provisions. पता नहीं जुडिशरी भी क्या कर रही है। जुडिशरी has become a silent spectator. अगर मेरे जैसा बंदा जज हो, मैं इनको बताऊं how can you do like this? You can't work on your fancies. You have to strictly go by the constitutional provision. We need constitutional judges today who could see, check what's the executive is doing. We strictly needs constitutional judges. Only then something good can happen. So, this was my perception These were my own ideas, which I wanted to share with you, and hopefully you will try to understand what my object ultimately was to put forth these ideas to you. So I will end with this note that we can't deviate from constitution. Mind it. It is not good for your health. Thank you. Thank you very much.